Good. All right. I'd like to welcome everybody to the July 8th regular meeting of the Metropolitan School District of North Posey, and we will open the meeting by joining me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just want to point, the screen is touch screen, so I think that's what's happening.
Okay, stop touching. Are we still live? Do we have to redo the plan?
Let's see. Yes.
All right. First item on the agenda is patrons' concerns, patrons' comments. We do have a large group, some of which are new faces. So I do want to point out that our rules of decorum for patrons' concern, no questions have to be answered. We encourage you, if you have questions, to submit those and we will get back to you on those. We do limit all comments to 3 minutes in duration. And we will not allow patrons to make statements, comments, and complaint or accusatory form about individual school employees by name or by reference. So we ask you that to please abide by those. I will further state that in the spirit of patrons' concerns, we adopted these to give patrons the opportunity to voice comment to the board in regards to actionable items that were coming up for that meeting. And so we just ask people to please be considerate as it regards to that. Our first person signed up is Logan Newton. Right here. There he is. Floor is yours.
Good evening. Since the last school board meeting that I attended, I made a few observations in regards to the school and the EON project. I attended EON's public meeting the day after the last school board meeting, and one of their speaking points was how they offered to pay for a STEM lab at North Posey. They never mentioned that North Posey had requested a donation. It was made very clear to me about where both parties stood in reference to donations. When it was stated that EON never approached us and never offered us money. It was emphasized by stating that North Posey requested a donation not once but 3 times. The community is receiving 2 versions of the same story, and it appears messy, and North Posey is associated with it. In response to the illustration of the personal attacks that some have endured, you've all accepted a position of either employment or volunteerism that subjects you to the possibility of intense public scrutiny. Unfortunately for you, this must not be a pleasant part of the job, but I think it goes with the territory. I do not condone the comments made about certain individuals in what was referred to as a slanderous attack. It isn't hard to see that people on both sides of the fence tend to get emotionally involved in this issue, including one key administrator's spouse. I think that was made obvious when she decided to insult members of our community who opposed the project in its current state. The term she used was morons. These so-called morons are members of the community that you've been appointed to represent. Is it excusable to insult the community because you have a difference in opinion? I don't think so. I'm blown away at the amount of nerve it took to play the victim card on this matter. When some have spouses that behave in the exact same manner that was found so despicable.
But I will have to ask you to not refer to employees or their spouses.
Okay.
I think that falls under decorum.
Okay. At the last board meeting, it was stated, you think that it's disappointing that the community has forced this on the board. I beg to differ. You can thank whoever was responsible for putting the wind turbine project projections on the school board's agenda back in February. I think most would agree with me. This was when North Posey inserted themselves in the middle of this controversy. The community knows the board doesn't have any authority when it comes to approving, not approving, or implementing ordinances. and which county officials we need to address about all of those things. You claim to have no affiliation with EON and you have nothing to do with this project, but I feel that the actions that have been taken thus far do not support those claims. Appearance of affiliation was seen on the agenda for February school board meeting, as wind turbines were listed as a topic for discussion, and also whenever you asked for a donation 3 times from them. Also, the property tax revenue estimates from proposed turbines are illustrated on the MSD of North Posey's website. The community did not put any of this, did not put any of you in this position. You did it to yourselves. Had you just waited until approval, there would be no reason for the community to have concern. But unfortunately, that is not how it played out. Today, I'm calling you to not accept any type of donation, whether asked for or offered, until the county officials have approved this project. I'm also asking that this donation be brought to the board for approval, so as to show to the public that there are, in fact, no strings of any kind attached. Thank you.
Next is Sarah Newton.
I'm here today to ask the board to make another motion to have EON's donation brought to the school board. And I urge the members to vote to deny any donations from EON prior to the approval of its project at the county level. I would have to disagree with a few of the points that were brought up in the last meeting. One, you mentioned the principal from the Armstrong School District stating he lives by turbines and his family's never had any issues. That's wonderful to hear, but what was failed to be asked was how far does he live from the turbines? The closest turbine to his home is 1,950 feet. The next closest is just shy of 3,000. You also failed to mention how tall the turbines are. They're 495 feet tall. In case the public is unaware, EON is not only looking at 500-foot turbines, they're also considering putting the largest turbines in the country here at 591 feet. I have personally spoken to one of those families in the Armstrong School District, a husband, wife, and 2 children that suffered the negative effects as described in the superintendent's letter. They live next to multiple 500-foot turbines, the closest being 1,665 feet. After enduring months of sleep deprivation from the noise of the turbines, the family abandoned their home and lived in a trailer so they could finally sleep. They had an independent sound study performed at their home to see what the noise level was. That company was Hankard Environmental, the same acoustic expert that EON brought as their sound expert to our public meeting. The noise level at the abandoned home was 46 dBA. EON's proposed sound level for our area, 45. That citizen also gave sworn testimony of 21 other households in Vermilion County that stated they had been negatively impacted by the turbines. After hearing their experience, that is when Mr. Mulvaney's letter was read to our board. I reached out to the board member that was referenced in the last meeting and sent him the video of the last meeting. Sadly, the way he was represented in the June 25th meeting is by no way true. The board member has not and never will support the turbines. He personally suffers from sleep disturbances due to the noise they cause him. He lives 1,550 feet and 1,750 feet away from 500-foot turbines. After seeing our video, the board member reached out to Mr. Mulvaney and asked him to email Dr. Camp to clarify his stance. Mr. Mulvaney was unable to reply to the school email address, so it was sent to me as to make sure the board member's stance was portrayed correctly. This is Bill Mulvaney from Armstrong. We spoke about the wind farm proposal that your district was a part of. I need to clarify some information that you gave your board. First, my board member never asked me to write that letter. It was from the parent of the other family with medical issues. Secondly, my board member has never supported the wind farms and still does not support them. He currently serves on my high school board. The other family is a family that moved out of my district. I do believe that their medical issues were real. When I referred to our EAV, that is our estimated assessed value. That is how our taxes are assessed. As mentioned in our conversation, I do believe that the wind turbines do impact resale values of homes located near the turbines. I'm sorry that I did not clarify these things in our discussion. If you have any other further questions or you want to call me to make sure the information you have is correct, please don't hesitate to give me a call. A few points of concern. One, the superintendent does believe the medical issues of headaches, jaw pains, and sleep disturbances were real. Two, why Dr. Camp did you omit the information about impact on resale value that Mr. Mulvaney discussed with you? I feel this is a question the board needs to ask today. Dr. Camp stated, we have nothing to do with the turbines, but that's not entirely true, as certain members are financially tied to this project. They should never have been allowed to have any contact with Eon in their official school capacity. I do not understand how this is not a direct conflict of interest, and it stuns me that no one has addressed this. If it's not the role of the school board to listen to the community that has elected them and the check and balance of the administration, then what is the role? I'm sorry that this donation has placed the school board in the middle of a controversial subject, but today we're asking you to do what is right and not what is easy. The community is asking you to deny all donations from Eon prior to the approval of the project at the county level, as to not show the school affiliating with a company that at its current setbacks are dangerous to the community, conflicts of interest, and lack of transparency. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Scott Fisher.
Yes, thank you for your time this evening. Appreciate you taking the time to listen to the concerns of the community. Just a few comments. Appreciate the rules as well, just to clarify before we get into some of this. This project as a whole is very complicated. It's been difficult to explain to members of the community some of the ins and outs and intricacies of the project, both the negatives and the positives. Everybody here, I believe, can appreciate the need for funds for the school and how critical they are, not just in any school, but in an agricultural community, how important they are. The way this project has been proposed, we have clearly laid out why it's a problem. This is not about, the community effort behind this has never been about kill the project, anti-wind energy, anti-green energy. This is about siting and getting the siting correct from day one. The proposal is not about proper siting, and there's dozens and dozens of examples of this that I won't get into based on the time limitation. But I think, what I would ask the board is do everything possible that you can to maintain an unbiased viewpoint and get as educated as you possibly can on both sides. The financials are real. There's no question about it. The negatives are also very real and can be extremely destructive to the community. There's a way to get this right. And I ask the board, as the elected officials, tough spot to be in, this is the time to get it right. By accepting the donation, it effectively, in the community's view, puts the school in a position where it's used as a reason to support. Here's some funds coming in. The problem is there's too many negatives that haven't been corrected with the way it's been proposed. So we ask that you dig in on this and take a vote. This is something that's critical to this community. Potentially the largest impactful project in a negative way, the way it's laid out today. And I don't want the school that my kids will go to have their name on this as a scar. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Linda Rising.
Thank you. I first became associated with North Posey in 1980, long before a lot of you on the board were even born. Counting the substitute teaching I did before and after my full-time career, I devoted over 32 years to this school. I was also honored to be chosen by the state of Indiana to serve on the ethics and education panel for a number of years. So you can understand why I was upset when I learned that North Posey was planning to accept millions of dollars from Eon at a time when I feel our community is already split in two over the issue of these wind farms. I recently attended the meeting with Eon at the high school. One of the representatives sat at our table, and I was very open with him about my feelings toward his company's tactics. I let him know that they had managed to turn people against each other, partially by their secrecy, their lack of transparency, and sometimes their lack of honesty. His response to me was, everything we have done has been perfectly legal. And I looked him straight in the eye and I said, just because it's legal doesn't make it ethical. Emily Loring once said, only the corrupt or the stupid person falls for the open bribe, but there are other methods more insidious, harder to detect, by which the same results are achieved. The favor granted, the casual present bestowed on the unwary, the conferring of benefits that make a decent human being feel indebted. Eon wants you to feel indebted to them, and you will be if you accept their money before this is ever decided by the county. You will no longer be a neutral entity. You will have chosen a side. I'm begging you that anyone on this board who has a conflict of interest, whether you personally will receive money from this project or a member of your family will receive money from this project, please recuse yourself from making any decisions about accepting the money from E.ON. Finally, I'm not going to mention any names or anything, but I have seen some incredibly hurtful and insulting posts on Facebook. Please, people, some of these are done by school employees, some are done by people in the community. I just feel like this whole project has torn everybody apart, and I never thought I would see it in Posey County. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis Kiesel?
I just have one quick comment. The school board has some tough decisions to make, least of which is probably accepting money. You have to address the conflict of interest that's present at the table, and you have to just pay attention to what is going on to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that is all of our patrons' concerns for the evening. We appreciate everybody. Our next item on the agenda is our minutes, claim docket, and consent items approval. I ask the board to approve those as presented.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes, claim docket, and consent items.
I'll entertain a second.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Mr. Schmidt and seconded by Mr. Stock to approve the claim docket, consent items, and minutes as presented. Any comments or questions regarding those? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries 4-0. I'll note, as I should have beforehand, that Mrs. Will is not able to join us tonight. She had a work conflict. Next item on the agenda, Dr. Wanamion.
Yes, we wanted to readdress our motion that was made at the last meeting about Airmark services being awarded the contract that would run from July 1st to June 30th of 2020. We have Ms. Julie Shelton here from Airmark. If the board members have any additional questions in regard to that contract, they were awarded the bid as far as food services contract, but we would go down that path. Any questions for Ms. Shelton?
I'll entertain a motion to approve the contract as presented by Dr. Wanamion.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Second.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Mr. Stock and seconded by Mr. Oakley to approve the Airmark contract as presented. Any other comments or questions?
This is a one-year contract.
It's a one-year contract effective July 1st, correct?
Yes, but we wouldn't have to go through the bid process again at the end of it. We would come together and go through like the different revenues, expenses, and come together with another agreement. But it doesn't have to go through the official bid process for 5 years.
For the state. And for everyone, we had a motion last month that was not seconded, so that allowed us to bring, it sort of died, so it allows us to bring it. It was never taken an action on, so it allows us to bring it back up. I'll comment. I think this is a good opportunity for the school to explore what's available in terms of Airmark services and industry trends. Is that correct? It's pretty neat that a school our size is able to take advantage of those and try to provide a industry trend offering to our students and faculty. And I like the idea that it's not a multi-year contract, which all of us have expressed our displeasure with those contracts in general. So see it as a win-win for the school. I know in talking with Mrs. Will and previously, her feelings were mutual. As such, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 4-0. Next item is personnel. Dr. Wyman, it's still yours.
Okay. In addition to Aramark, we would also like to add a food service director. We went through the interview process earlier that I described. The food service director's scale needed to be updated. Because Nancy was with us for, I believe, about 30 years, so it was needed to be updated. In front of you, you'll see the new pay scale for years 1 through 5. I'm asking that the new pay scale be accepted.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the updated pay scale for the food service director.
Second.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Mr. Schmidt and seconded by Mr. Stock to approve the pay scale for the food service director as presented by Dr. Wanamiller. Any other comments or questions regarding that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries 4-0.
I am happy to request the hiring of Stacy Newman Smith as our food service director. She's done an outstanding job for us in our previous role, and I'm excited about having her as the food service director going forward. I'm asking for her approval.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the hiring request.
Second.
I'll second it.
There's a motion by Mr. Oakley and seconded by Mr. Schmidt to approve Dr. Wanamiller's request to hire Stacy Newman Smith as the food service director. Any comments or questions?
Just for clarification, this is outside of the Aramark contract.
That's right, this would be a North Posey position.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries 4-0. I see Stacy sitting in our audience. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You have big shoes to fill, I'll add that.
I know, I'm well aware of that.
How many years have you got so far?
I believe this is start my 12th year.
So you only got 18 more. I mean, right?
No
That's easy,
problem.
right?
No problem.
I think she started a little younger than me.
Oh, come on. All right.
Stacy, this is Julie, we're gonna be.
Hi.
We're running here to get.
Yes.
For the first session, which is good. Congratulations.
Yes, and thank you for coming down. We appreciate that.
At this time, since we've made the decision to enter into a contract with Aramark, I would just like to recommend to Aramark, Miss Adina Weddle for the position of executive director or position of food service director that would be under your employment.
That needs no action.
That needs no board action.
That's the last of the new business, correct? Excuse me, reports and information.
You had on the table somewhere, a thank you note for employment from Nancy Dugan. I hope the board had a chance to see that. She did a great job for us and we appreciate all her services. One thing I want to add is I passed it out to you, the 2020 timeline for the budget, the different board meeting dates that it's imperative that you're here. Also, I sat in meetings today on our projects. The project that we embarked on with the carpet is completed. All carpet is back in place and the furniture is back in those rooms in the what we call the 9th grade hallway. Jake Regan, our IT person, there's pictures on the table there for the IT cleanup. He went into all of our server rooms and cleaned up the IT, and he's been running the cabling for all of our new cameras. And he has been working diligently on the voice over IP for our phones for every classroom. And so we're in the process of those projects. North Elementary, the front entryway, where they're digging out and putting the new sidewalks in and the new stairs. They're still on task to be completed by August 2nd. So that will be functional before the start of school. The office area that they're having to move the hallway and make a secured entryway that it's being moved. It will be completely enclosed and they will be working inside. The office will still be displaced. But as far as the students would see coming into the main building and going down the hallways, they should be fine. It would be the internal work inside the office that they will still be completing. And that depends on the casework, which you'll hear me say a couple of times. The STEM labs, both at North Elementary and South Terrace, July the 26th through August 2nd is the substantial completion date, and that depends on the casework. If they have trouble on the casework, everything could be completed except for the new cabinetry. But they're hoping right now the target date is to have that in. The restrooms in the North Elementary that we're renovating, the front restrooms, they will be completed. I'll go back to South Terrace. I've got it on my list here because that was the way the meetings went. But at the high school and the junior high.
So on the North Elementary, I just noticed that they poured the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Sidewalks poured. Double entry is completed, dug out. Looks like, sorry. So when did they pour them sidewalks? 'Cause I thought that was,
They worked through the weekend.
I was gonna say that was a new.
Yeah, they worked through the
Yeah,
weekend.
I did post them before, so that was just.
Because of the rain, a lot of the contractors are gonna work on weekends to make up for lost time.
Okay.
I'll go back to South Terrace. There's a few things there. At the high school, junior high, the field is still on schedule to be completed between August 2nd, August 9th. The track has been milled and it will remain like that. And they're going to take a look at the football schedules for all the different sports and try to find a weekend there or two that they can complete the track. And if they can, they will. The bleachers, the delivery date on the new aluminum pieces is July 22nd. And they said that the bleacher company will come in it's a traveling company, and they will come in and they'll basically camp out here until they get them done. As soon as they get those done, they go on to the baseball bleachers. So that is a confirmed delivery date. So we should be good on that. The press box is going to be built, but it will not be operational for football season. The parking lot this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, they plan to mill the high school parking lot. They will come back on July 22nd, and they think it'll take 3 days to pave it. So they'll repave that. Going back to South Terrace, tomorrow is the bid opening for the playground. We had 4 companies that expressed interest. We've got one bid in hand now, and George thought we might get 2, but he wasn't for sure. So I don't know how that will go, but the bid opening will be tomorrow. The STEM lab there goes along with the STEM lab at North Elementary. The same company's doing both. And the parking lot there, through the core samples, there are some places that I guess, that school's been there since 1958. There's been some time where boards have put top coat on versus milling down and putting a new bottom coat or a new top coat. There's several layers of top coat. It's not holding together real well. So we're having to look at some of that. And we also had to do some modifications to the expansion of the parking lots. So, but they're thinking that they will be there July 22nd to start the demolition of the dirt where we're adding on to the parking lot. And then they're giving us a price. We're going to have to make a determination whether or not we're going to try to mill down and get hard surface, which may affect the draining. And they want to make sure we get the drainage right. So we may mill down, we may not, and they're getting a price for some of the revisions that we have to do there. Just because of the asphalt that's not that good. So that's an update on all of those projects. And that's all I have at this time on those projects. And then, RISE evaluation report.
Yes, under Indiana code, we are required to discuss the evaluation plan before the start of the school year. So the RISE evaluation document for the 2019-20 school year, I dropped into the school board Google Drive, so you can see a copy of it there. The only thing that changed is the actual year. There are no revisions to the plan for this upcoming school year. One thing, however, we're going to use professional judgment on is the growth points. Growth points involve teachers of grades 4 through 8. And there's some concern with the teacher because of the new iLearn test being compared to the performance outcomes of the iStep test. So recently in June, I went to the superintendent's summit, and it was explained the rationale that you can compare those two tests for growth scores because they're just comparing student performance. So say that there's Jeff and Greg and Vince performed at a certain, let's say above average performance on iStep. So you're in a cohort group. No matter what test we put in front of you, their thinking is that you will still, your performance score should still be in that above average range. Let's just say superior. You'd be in the superior average range on one step, and you'll be superior on the next assessment, no matter what it is. Well, you can see that with some people that have more of the background and test measurements like our teachers do, that they are worried that that's not going to be the case. Because the format of the test is different, the level of questions are different. So to relieve their concern, we're going to use professional judgment when we get those growth scores, meaning that when we factor in the growth score percentage points, if it improves their performance, overall performance score, we will keep it. If it lowers it, then we're going to throw it out and use professional judgment. I didn't have to write that revision into the plan because professional judgment's already written in. And that's not even a modified part of RISE. That's in the original document of RISE. So, that will be explained again at teacher orientation day, as well as at the first staff meetings there to relieve that concern.
It's time for us to publish our annual financial report. We needed Amy's signature tonight, so I will track her down, and it will be published in the August 6th Posey County News. And that is all I have for this evening. The next regular scheduled board meeting is Monday, August 12th. We'll already be back in school. It will be here at the board office. If executive session is needed, it will be at 5:30, and the regular meeting will begin.
I'll just let the board know that, as we're all aware, we do not currently have a policy concerning donations. So I've asked Greg, or I'm tasking Greg, lucky you, and Amy to review policy and make a recommendation back to the board on what they find concerning best practices as it results or relates to policy concerning donations. Amy's our policy liaison, so that fits as well. She's already aware of that. Anybody else have anything for the good of the cause?
Based on the fact that we have no formal donation policy, I'd like to motion that we table accepting a donation from Eon until the donation policies can be reviewed.
All right, so let me make sure I understand. Can you restate that for me?
Based on the fact that we have no formal donation policy, my motion is to table accepting a donation from Eon until donation policies can be reviewed.
I'm trying to recreate these. That's what I'm causing. All right, so we have a motion to, as stated by Vince, Do I have a second? For clarification, I am not allowed to motion, so. Based on the fact that we have no formal policy in place relating to donations, the motion is to table accepting the donation from Eon until the policy is, the donation policy is reviewed. Is that correct? Asking for a second. Having heard none, I assume that dies for lack of a second motion. Anybody else have anything for the good of the cause? All right, having heard none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. We have a motion by Mr. Oakley, seconded by Mr. Stock. To adjourn.
Already taken.
Yep. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vance.
Thank you guys for having us.
Not mine.
Thank you. That's not a big deal.
Trying.
They lean against it, maybe turn it off.
Thank you.
I don't know if we were touching this.
Congratulations.